It's such a hard lesson to learn, right? It's like, oh, no one's coming to save me. No one's going to come and no
No.
one knows me anything. No one's coming to fix me.
Welcome, Lily. You are a self-love coach and a writer. I wanted to have you on today because I think self-love is such a important topic, but also, like we wrote in the email together, the combination of self-love, the nervous system, and menstrual cycle awareness.
Hmm.
Oh. So,
Well,
what is self-love, and why are so many of struggling with it? And how is what is your story behind self-love? Why? Because there's always a reason, why we become, why we our jobs turns out to be like a self-love coach, or for me, it's like seeking the truth. It's because we've been struggling with that stuff we are
exactly.
talking about. So tell me a little bit about your journey with self-love, and what it is, and how it stands in a way to actually live a life to the fullest.
What a question. Well, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about this. Yeah, it's really lovely to chat to you. Self-love. What a yeah, it's I've been coaching for a couple of years, and I just branded myself as a self-love coach last year in around April, May,
Mm-hmm.
when I realized that that was exactly the journey that I had been on myself, and how much of a difference it was making to my life to have that deeper self-regard, self-esteem, we can call it by lots of different things, a sense of worthiness, and I was seeing it in my clients as well, and it's subtle at first, building up self-love, but then it sort of starts to ripple out, and so, like, for one of my clients, it's meant that her income's grown because she's a freelance writer, and
Mm.
she's been able to have she's been building up the confidence to, like, put her rates up, or to turn down clients that aren't going to pay what she feels like, well, going to pay a higher fee for the same amount of time that another one might. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's I suppose, quite an easy example to use, because it comes down to, how do I value myself, and what am I worth? And it's a bit icky to make it financial, but it does reflect that sometimes, when you're sort of out here, like I am, trying to make money on my own terms as well. So, I'm not paid a
Yeah.
salary every month. Um, but I suppose, to go back to your question about what self-love, how, I suppose, yeah, I like the way you said, why do so many of us struggle with it?
Mm.
And it comes down to conditioning, and um, the messages that we receive from our experiences in life. These sort of It can be to do with what's going on in our childhood, the sort of circumstances of, everything from our birth to, what's going on in our parents' lives when we're young, that we're absorbing, that we're picking up, the way we see them relate to each other, the way, the women in my family are so critical of their own bodies, and I picked up a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, growing up in the 90s, the noughties, this whole culture of just, women are only worth what their bodies, the sort of beauty of
Mm.
their bodies, or what they can provide in terms of
Yeah.
sexuality and desire, and all this stuff. So it's really all pervasive. So it's not a personal failing that for someone not to love themselves, but it's something that we can then take into our own hands once we can start to be like, okay, I feel like I want to love myself, or I'm starting to accept myself, or just something's got to shift because I'm exhausted of hating myself. I think that's where I started. It was like, I'm just too fucking tired for this. I'm too tired to be
Oh,
so controlling of my body and what I eat and what I do with it. And I was
yes.
exhausted.
No, I hear you, sister. Fucking hell. That is like it you just reach a point in your life where you're just like, oh my fucking God, I'm done hating myself. I'm done not feeling good enough. And then you come for me, then you come to the realization that there's actually something called self-love, because you didn't like also for me, I didn't see my
Mm,
mom practicing it. I had no concept of it. I just didn't know that you actually are able to turn inwards and have like a lovely feeling for yourself as you have for your first boyfriend. You know,
mm,
that butterfly feeling and saying, "Oh, I'm quite nice. I'm good at this," and also accepting these words because for me, I always struggled with my self-esteem, self-love, and school and my parents didn't made it better.
mm,
So I can so much relate to that. Um, yeah. So how do you so how did it affect you then just growing up with your you said your mom and your sisters not this body image because you're right I didn't thought about like actually the 90s was so much about the body and the boobs and the oh my God, you just had to look so amazing. If I'm thinking about Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, they were just
yeah.
damn. And then you look yourself in the mirror and thinking, I cannot even control my own curls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did well, so at one point you said your journey, you were just exhausted. And what then? What was your first step and how did this all affect you? Life, do you think? Big questions.
Hmm. I think the first thing I can pinpoint is my relationship with food, which
Mm.
I think, you know, as a it's just so true for so many of us. It's like been spent most of my life kind of in a kind of guilt, shame, reward cycle with food. It's such disordered approach to food. Um, I mean, it's so linked to emotion and comfort and pleasure and um yeah, just very complicated, I think, for so many women.
Yeah.
And we're told, everything will be fine if you're thin. Everything's fine when you're thin. To just be thin.
Be thin.
And I never have been, and it's just not my body. And I remember I was like afraid of eating bread or something. I was like, I'm just done
Oh,
with this.
oh yeah.
Um, I was around 30, maybe I was approaching 30, something happened, something snapped. And I just started eating whatever I want. And yeah, I gained weight. And but I didn't start, but actually it was the first step to getting to know my body. And then I think the next step was being on a course with our sort of mutual yoga teacher, who her community is how we connected, right? Bex
Yeah,
Tyra.
exactly. Yeah.
So I was in Bali and she taught me about my menstrual cycle, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe, even the course materials she sent beforehand. I was like, oh God, this sounds like, oh, like and at
Ooh.
that point I was like, oh, my period's just the bane of my life. Like, what is this? What am I going into here? And I came out of that course being like, oh my God, the menstrual cycle's amazing. Like, women are amazing, and
The fuck? Why didn't nobody tell us about this shit? I had the same feeling. I was like, what?
yeah. And just seeing myself objectively, just a human woman. I'm just a human
Yeah,
woman. That's all
a
I am.
human woman.
Nothing more, nothing less. And we have this monthly cycle that we've been the again, it's another thing that we've been shamed to ignore and suppress and try and um well, just act as if it's not even happening. And the difference today, right? So when we jumped on the call, I said that I was up in the night with period pains.
Yeah.
And I love that I'm in a position now just to talk about that and to be like, and I had the option. I could have said, can we do this another time? But I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And but in the past, when I've been in like a working in a corporate environment in a meeting with a client, I can't I feeling like I don't have any power to like move the meeting or whatever, and just being in so much pain and sweating with the pain and still trying to put on a smile and talk about whatever fucking thing we were talking about in this meeting, you know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
acting as if there was no issue when my insides are like
Ripping apart.
screaming at me, yeah, ripping apart. And
Oh, yeah.
for what? Like for what? Like what who made this rule that we can't just be like, oh no, I
Yeah,
don't feel good today. I actually can't physically sit here. I need to go lie down. Like this is my body talking. When
exactly.
did like yeah. Anyways, sorry, I
No, but
went off
I
on a
just
tangent.
wanted, I remember actually, I worked as a receptionist and in a hotel. And, you always go out and you put your smile on, a guest comes in. And then I will go back in the back room, just fall fucking apart because it was so painful.
Mm,
And then you go out again and try to make your, hello, here's your room. And then you go in and die again. Yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
yeah, I interrupted you in your thoughts, but yeah, I think it's something, again, really we need to talk more openly about. And I think Bex really made a shift in a lot of women there, and I think they're still doing a lot of great work in Bali, both Emily and Bex with this, and
Mm,
they have a big audience that they can reach. Because just to go back to her teachings in that course, what came out for me was, when you start taking the pill, you kind of not really yourself anymore. And then she said,
mm,
I don't know how many percent of the young women actually get an eating disorder from the pill.
mm,
And because
mm,
I had bulimia the most of my youth, because again, I was struggling the same way. I didn't look like Christina Aguilera. I was very choppy when I was little. And yeah, so after that, I was like, oh my God, could that has been also a trigger? Because I never really got to know myself. I never really had my own hormones. It was always something chemical that was controlling me. And because I went completely out of control when I started taking the pill. And
wow.
so I never got to know myself, really.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. Sorry. I think,
It's so sad, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I was like, oh, how could it have, who would I have been? Would I have struggled less? I even went to, a psychologist when I was really young, because I was, having these eating disorders. And so many clinics. How would I have been different if we were been honored to be a woman and having a bleed
Mm,
and having role models that could, tell us how to be loving ourselves and loving the
mm,
menstrual cycle? Would we have
mhm.
less pain?
I think so. I think absolutely we'd have less pain
Yeah.
because what I now know is that when my so I'll try and make this connection. There is a connection between all this, so hopefully I can make it. Um, so I've been on a deep dive into the nervous system for the
Oh yeah.
last few years, and I know that when my nervous system is the more my nervous system is activated, the more painful, the more pain I experience
Mm-hmm.
on my period. Um, and it's something that it's been really interesting just to witness that and just so for example, last month, Christmas Day, I was bleeding really heavily and I had to go and just take time out because I was like, I can't even engage with like family things. I was just like just in pain. And I'd witnessed myself, just I was like, I know I'm really dysregulated. I know that, that I'm feeling quite stressed about things, just generally like um I'm doing my best to like manage that, but I know that and then just seeing the correlation of like, ah shit, yeah, this is really painful. And my body is saying, just stop, just stop, just stop all this, just what is going on in that in that belief system, because basically when we hate ourselves or when we and obviously I have come a long way, so this isn't anymore what's activating my nervous system. I've got some other health issues going on, but when we are actively in that sort of self-critical, self-loathing sort of frame of mind, and that's what's going on in our sort of inner monologue and or on deeper levels that we're not even aware of, that activates the nervous system. That's
Mm.
saying I'm not safe, because it's saying I'm not safe in my own body. I am the lion that I need to run from, but obviously can't because it's me. I'm in my own body. There's nowhere else to go. I don't know if that makes sense without
Makes
sort of
sense.
going into the nervous system, but yeah. So when we're in a fight or flight state or a freeze state, which I spent a lot of my life in, um, there's the body isn't functioning
Mm.
how it needs to, how it optimally needs to, for things to flow, for our digestion to flow, for our breathing to be as deep and steady as it needs to be, and for the menstrual cycle,
Yeah,
for our monthly cycle to flow how it needs to. I know
exactly.
I know when I'm more tense and more stressed, I'm like, oh, my period's not arriving. It's not coming because I need to, and I'll be doing my best to like create some space in my life and do some practices that will bring my nervous system down, and then it can start flowing, but it still might be painful if I haven't really looked after myself properly. And I can definitely see the difference when, I've had some pain-free periods where I have been absolutely really um calm in my nervous system, where I've
Mm.
been, my diet's been, I've been really good in terms of not eating inflammatory things beforehand. I don't have caffeine. There's just certain measures I know I need to take before I bleed. That when I'm in a more kind of stressed or self-sabotagey kind of time, or just generally exhausted by other things going on, I'm not doing, and I see the repercussions in that. So
Yeah,
I just tuning into my own nervous system and seeing what's going on. It's just, yeah, has been really amazing for me to understand all the other things going on in my body.
Yeah, I can really relate to that because, you know, Christmas has just been, we had or the New Year. So and we just arrived back in Denmark. And the food is so good here compared to many other countries. But anyway, so Christmas and New Year, you know, you usually I never drink alcohol because of my period, because then I get pain and stuff like that, because my body has such a hard time to detoxify after if I drink alcohol, and also I get depressed and stuff like that. So, but it's been Christmas, it's been New Year, and we arrived in a new place here. So we were out and about with the neighbors and had slightly too much to drink. And you know, the food, Christmas Danish and probably also British Christmas food is like fatty. Like if you see a vegetable, I don't know, it's just to make it pretty somewhere. And and, and the last two periods I had was so freaking painful. Like, oh my God, I was out for 4 days or something like that. And I was just grumpy, and it's so weird because for the last couple of years after also we worked with Bex and I worked with my moon cycle, I don't have painful periods anymore. It comes smooth, it's smooth sailing. I have like this 1 day before my 2 days before my period where I'm like a bitch, and we know that, so we work on that too. But and when I say we, me and my partner, he's the one, you know, getting the shit. But anyway, so it's just so fascinating, the whole following your cycle. And also now you can see why you have pain, or why you are grumpy, or why you don't feel on top of the world. And you can kind of summarize your month. And I feel like it's such an incredible tool, because you're right. And it connects together, like you said in your email, like what is the link between the nervous system and self-love and menstrual cycle awareness. It's just a beautiful little circle, because if you also talk shit to yourself and don't like yourself, it's like you freeze, you don't trust yourself, and that again returns, maybe you then get those painful periods or other stuff that goes on. I think it's quite so. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's quite fascinating. And how do you see this relate with your clients and stuff? Because I know that you're now working with this self-love coach, and you have been, yeah, working with Bags and learning all that stuff and self-love. And yeah, is there anything?
Yeah, it's amazing seeing my clients just start giving themselves a break and start just being more compassionate to themselves, and it honestly reduces the stress that's in their system. I can see it, over the course of time, and it doesn't even take long with the modality that I use, where we are rewiring neural pathways, ones that were sort of wired into like, oh, I'm bad and I'm just inherently worthless or unworthy of getting what I want, or being happy, or all these things. And so it's sort of like the stress of feeling unworthy means that our system is constantly like, okay, I have to prove myself, got to be um got to be sort of trying, I've got to try harder than this, I'm not doing enough, and it's just like it's and I relate to it, I really do, I've been there. And what that does in terms of like just being more reactive to what's going on around you, emotional responses, just being like really in that kind of like unregulated sort of being kind of it's like being shoved around left and right, because you're sort of so externally focused, because this sort of foundation of self trust and safety in yourself isn't is so wobbly that you're kind of looking, always constantly on alert to be like, well, that means I'm safe. Oh, he likes me, so that means I'm okay. Oh, my parents have uh, signed off on this thing, have approved this life decision that I made. That must mean I'm okay. Oh, my boss has said I'm doing well. And then the opposite, like, oh my God, my boss criticized me. That must mean that obviously confirms that I'm worthless, or whatever, these little messages are going on
Yeah.
inside. So building that like sense of self-regard, self-esteem, self-love, whatever we call it, um, makes those things just sort of melt away, because it's like, okay, oh, my boss criticized that thing. Maybe it was a fair comment. I wasn't really on my game. Do I care? I'll take it on board. Or, actually, I disagree with him. Maybe it's time I look for a new job. I don't know, but just not feeling so like, yeah, just sort of knocked about by life, and just having that sense of just having more resilience, um, because it's sort of what we're doing is making this idea of like, I'm safe to exist and live my own life and make my own decisions and be who I am. Um, I'm safe to do that. In my nervous system
Mm.
knows that the decisions I make are going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And
Yeah.
even if things don't go okay, ultimately I will be okay. Like, it's sort of just reinforcing that. And it leads to magical outcomes, which is a term that one of my clients used this week that I just love, of just these, when we're open to, when we stop sort of trying to manipulate life and trying to kind of be like, yeah, but I have to do this because otherwise that won't happen, and this, when we kind of have the trust and the internal safety,
Mm.
really cool shit just comes towards us. And I
True.
experience it, my clients experience it, and they'll email me like, oh my God, this amazing thing just happened. And it's like, and they know, but it's because they've shifted something in their like energy field, and in what they're welcoming into their life, that would have missed them if they were too busy just fixating on a specific limiting idea, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I everything you said, it's like I totally relate to that. It's like we are always in this panic, do more, prove myself kind of mode. And if when we finally just lean into it, yeah, lean into the trust, things
Mm,
happens, good things happens
yeah.
to us. But I can't
Yeah,
stop.
but
Yeah, just go on.
it's not I just want to say it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when maybe our parents modeled to us a sense of scarcity, and or weren't emotionally there for us to, so it wasn't, when we were children, if it wasn't safe for us to express our emotions, or to trust ourselves or trust our bodies, like that, there's a
Mm.
reason that we try and keep ourselves safe. So now as adults, it's about identifying maybe some of those things, some of those reasons, and just, I mean, I use a specific framework to help my clients choose how they want to show up in the world,
Yeah.
and not be guided by those sort of trauma responses anymore, those that stress cycle that they were sort of trapped in. Yeah.
Where does where does one start? I'm like, how that must, because there is a, I'm just thinking about somebody I know, and she's in that. But where do one start actually? What is the one thing you can start with yourself? Because it is complicated. Because I'm still working. I'm not perfect. I'm still working through all the this stuff, you know, and I've been living in freeze mode since I came out of my mom's boom. Um,
Mm.
where do we start, Lily, on this journey? Because I know for me it was I woke up one night and thought, I'm leaving this place. I'm going to Bali. See you later. And then it was this somebody actually had to tell me that I needed to fucking take responsibility for my own life.
Mm.
Like like proper. She was such a fascinating woman, an older woman, a healer in Bali named Bobby, and I never forget what she was. I was like, I was so stunned by her saying it, because I didn't have awareness that I needed to take responsibility for this. I thought I could just go on complaining. What
Yeah,
do you
I
think?
know. It's such a hard lesson to learn, right? It's like, oh, no one's coming to save me. No one's going to come and no
No,
one knows me anything. No one's coming to fix me.
no, and because I was so sure I could just keep on blaming my dad and my mom and all the stuff
Mm.
that happened in my life. I was like, and she was like, no, no, no. How old are you? I'm 24. Ah, lady, it's time to get your finger out of your ass, she actually said, and start taking responsibility for your life. And was like, and I was riding my bike home to my little rice field house and thinking, really? Is that a thing?
Mm.
And then it started there for me, but like how do we start? Because it's like a mindset shift or something that needs to, like, where do you think we need to start? Why do you okay, how what when does your client comes to you? Like, what is like the trigger?
Hmm. Um, my clients come to me at kind of a breaking point, really.
Yeah.
So, um, when they're just like, I'm letting myself down here. I just want more than this, and I'm just in a bit of a loop, like one of my clients was in sort of a binge purge cycle, so to go back to sort of eating disorders.
Yeah.
And she'd recently become a mum, and she was just like, I'm so, this is a line I just don't want to, I didn't want to cross. Like I don't want to be a, I don't want to model that to my child, basically. And she was like, what can I do? And this sort of, it didn't, it's amazing to watch her sort of heal, and it didn't take long for sort of I don't know, she definitely hasn't purged, and I don't think she ever will again, because of just how far she's come in her understanding of herself. um but it was this sort of where she was like, so if you imagine it sort of energetically as well as just the food, but like taking on, taking on, taking on, taking on, taking on, taking on, until it just exploded, until it was just too much, and she just, it was just like, it was the only safe release for her, in terms of, that was true when she was a teenager, but now she's an adult. Now she can afford to pay for coaching, so she can now, she's learning how to speak openly to her partner, and she's finding other ways to release, to express, to um yeah, I suppose release is a good word, but but also knowing herself well enough so she doesn't reach that breaking point, so that she is able now to say no more often. She's able to say to her partner, you need to take the baby, I'm going for a walk. Like she's able to ask for help. She's able
Mm.
to and there's so much more peace in her life because of that.
Yeah.
Um yeah, sorry, I'm just very moved by that by that client. It's just amazing to see that journey, and she said, like, she can look in the mirror and say, I love you now, which she never ever could before, ever.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
she can appreciate her body and everything it's done for her, and she can trust a lot more. Yeah. And she's had a lot of trauma in her life,
Yeah.
so, but no one was going to come and take that away. It's you can't. So she was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And so it's a really hard step for all of us. I've
It
had to face some demons, and yeah.
it is.
um but I think it's such a good question that you asked, like, how do we know where to start? How do we know?
Yeah, what is like,
I think maybe I would ask, if you were to say the phrase, if you were to look in the mirror and say, I love and accept myself completely as I am, what's your sort of gut reaction to that? How does that land in your body? Does that feel good? Does that feel like, yep, that makes me feel nice and calm and peaceful? I love and accept myself exactly exactly as I am. Um, or is there these little, like, yeah, but you're a bit of an idiot. Oh, but you're too loud. Oh, but this. Oh, but, if there's these little voices coming in,
mm,
then what are they saying? Just be curious.
yeah.
What are they saying? And whose voice actually is it?
Oh
Because
yeah.
I think one of my clients was like, oh my God, that was my older sister. When she was sort of exploring this issue that she had, she was like, oh my God, that's because she always used to say this, da, da, da. And I was like, and it was just like, obviously I'm not, I'm just a guide, right? I'm not there to really do anything. I just witness her having this realization. And it's amazing, because then it's like, oh, you can go away now. I don't need your negative criticism, and just your, like, if you want to go and be bitter and miserable, you can. But I don't, I think there's more to life. I think I want to try and imagine more for myself, or a different kind of life, or yeah, or just, who would I be if I wasn't driven by anxiety and shame and fear and self-loathing every day? Who would I be? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, wow, what an opportunity to just sort of grow. Like, no one has to do this work. No one has to go on a journey into themselves, but it's fucking cool when you start breaking down these ideas that you're holding. Yeah.
Yeah. I do also like I like what you said. I like the way you stand in the mirror and ask that question. And I would say to that, I also like the fun. If you continue like this, would you be happy in 5 years or 10 years if you continue to live the same life or the same patterns and same thoughts you have? How would it look like in 5 years? And are you then still happy with it? And that is a question that scares me a little bit, because that also makes you think, oh, no, 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 I don't want to be in the same situation, 5 years from now. So what needs to change? How do I,
Mm.
and yeah, what parts of my life needs to change so I can actually go towards the woman I envision myself to be? Not that I'm not perfect here now, but also I like to think about who I want to be when I'm 40 or 50 or 60, and what tools, and how is that woman when I'm 60? How does she react when, in my age? What decision does she take? How does she think? How does she feel? How does she dress? And that is something I've been leaning towards, because I like that, you know, who I want to be at the end, when I'm not at the end, not that I'm dying when I'm 60, but when I'm 60, I have like my vision for 60, because then I want to be that wise woman who learned all those skills about herbs and menstrual cycle and menopause, and okay, so if I'm going on that quest, what do I need, and who do I need to become or be in tools? So yeah, that's my little thing I think about when I want to change, because I want to say something more. Now I forgot what I want to say. It was brilliant. Do you know when you forget something and it's brilliant? Yeah. Anyway, so how I have a question for you. What is then the most important thing you learned in your life? And what was your life before you learned that thing, and what is your life after?
Oh, wow. That's such a big question.
I know.
Um, do you know what? I'm gonna It's funny because when you were just talking just then about, yeah, like having sort of that vision, and I was actually going to jump in and say, like, and also, are we just like clinging on to the next thing, to
Mm.
like something external that's going to make us okay, like, oh, but when I get that promotion, oh, but when I
Oh yeah.
get that ring on my finger, oh, but when this or this happens, that's the point that I'll be okay. And if so, then that's a red flag. In
True.
terms of like, um it's so much, I don't know, it's just so lovely to not pin, just to be like, oh, if it's meant to be, it will happen. If it's not, then I'm sure there's something else that's really cool that's going to happen instead, or whatever. And not be so attached. And it's, I mean, this is really fucking hard, right? We're human, and it's it's what spiritual leaders and people have been like trying to figure out for millennia, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I do feel like so much less attached to so much external stuff in my life, because I've done that. Um, because I just feel more secure in myself, and there are so many different possibilities for where life could be, and I'm so curious about things that all of them interest me, and I'm like, well, I could go down that more creative path, or I could go down this path, or I could be this, or I could live there, or I could do, so when things in life knock you over, with that inner security, that self-love, it makes it much easier to be like, oh, okay, that wasn't meant to be then.
Yeah.
Even when you're like really gutted, it's like, oh, but I really wanted that. That would have been really nice. It's sort of like, okay, fine. I guess it's, I guess it wasn't gonna be, I guess there's something even better out there. Um, having said that, I to answer your question about what's the most important thing I've learned in my life, possibly it happened a few months ago, and it was the fact that I have a tongue tie,
Oh
which I
yeah.
didn't know I had. And I only just found, yeah, and I didn't know that it affected adults. And I'm getting it released in a week, next week, next Thursday.
Can you
And
maybe explain a
it's,
little bit what it is?
yeah. So it's it's what's called a frenum underneath your tongue, and like a stringy bit of connective tissue.
Ah, I just try to get my tongue up there.
Oh, interesting. Maybe you've got one.
I just think I right now can't control it. Okay.
So
Yeah, anyways.
so my frenum is very short and tight, which means that my tongue doesn't have much range of mobility, or whatever phrase you use. I can't stick it out very far, and it can't comfortably stay on the roof of my mouth, which is proper resting tongue position, is where it's suctioned to the roof of your mouth anytime you're not talking or eating. Um, and this triggers a neurological bundle that's just behind your front teeth, where your tip of your tongue should rest on the spot. And that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So that tells your body to like, everything's okay, everything's safe, secure, we can calm down now, we can get things moving, digestion can kick back in, breathing can calm down, all of this stuff that happens when our nervous systems get activated into sympathetic. Because my tongue can't do that, one of that's been impacting my body's ability to regulate, along with the fact that the tongue is the tip of like a fascia system that runs through the whole body, which is like this connective tissue that kind of holds your muscles in and keeps everything together, and it's like a connective web. And because of my tongue tie, that web is like too tight. It's like restricted and gathered in almost. If you can imagine that.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to kind of get my head around. But it means that it's restricting my diaphragm and affecting my breathing. My tongue, because of where it sits in my mouth, is also restricting my airway and causing like obstructive sleep apnea at night. And because I mean, breathing is so important for our nervous system to know that everything's okay. That's another way that my nervous system's been dysregulated, and a whole bunch of other things that tongue ties do to the
Wow.
body, and like affecting my pelvis and therefore my menstrual health. Like my legs, my knees, my feet. Um,
Yeah, because I
it's sort
think
of
I saw a picture of your toes or something. Did you post that
Yeah,
or what was?
yeah, I did. Yeah, my toes like really curl under, which
Yeah.
apparently is to do with this fascia restriction. And
Wow.
it's been mind blowing, honestly. And even like I didn't realize that I was chewing and swallowing incorrectly. It's like, and so that means because I can't really swallow the way you're supposed to, which is like this wave motion of your tongue along your palate, and mine can't really reach well enough to do it properly. So I've been learning to do it better as much as I can before the release, where they're going to cut the frenum. Um, but it means I've been swallowing a lot of air, which has affected the microbiome of my gut, and yeah, just really affected my digestion and all these things. Just my posture has just been like getting worse and worse and worse, and it's a really fascinating angle of like holistic health that's just been really under researched, really ignored, and also just like energetically, like as a baby I would have really struggled to breastfeed, even though I was feeding enough. I was growing, all the markers were there, but me and my mum both got mastitis when I was about a month or 2 years old, and a month or 2 years old, a month or two old. No, how do you say that? 1 or 2 months old. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh god. Which is an indicator of like trouble feeding. So I think basically I've been having to overcompensate and try really hard to do things that aren't, don't come that come easily and naturally to other people. So what that has done to me energetically in terms of like always, that being in that sort of like always got to push, always got to like try hard kind of thing. So I am it's kind of been this radical practice for me over the last the last few years anyway, but definitely in the last few months since I sort of found out this angle of my health, is to just rest and just to stop and to just accept that my body needs more care and attention and love because it's working harder than, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been really interesting and humbling because it's like there's so much going on in our bodies that we just don't know about that
Yeah.
that is just ignored, and I mean that obviously I learned that with the menstrual cycle anyway, 4 or 5 years ago now. But yeah, just like so we just think we can just go marching on in these like ridiculously exhausting paradigms of ways to live, and it's just like we just need to rest more,
Oh,
seriously. Just
yes.
and listen to our bodies,
Oh,
and that's the one thing that shame and self-loathing and all this stuff prevents us from doing, is listening to what is actually going on in our bodies and what our bodies are trying to tell us, because they're so clever.
yeah.
They've got all the answers. They know, my body's been telling me something's not right. It's been telling me that through period pain. It's been telling me that in all different ways something isn't right. Something is out of balance. Something is, yeah, please listen to me. And I've just been like, no, just, I've just been like,
Shut up.
I've just got to do better. I've just got to work harder. I've just got to be thinner. I've just got to do this, all
Yeah,
this
exactly.
nonsense. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, but that is such a good point. The, that is also something when I heard this whole, I hope I can say it right now. I was at a women's retreat where they said that the world we live in nowadays are built for the patriarchal, or for men, patriarchal money. No, what do you say? Patriarchal? No, for the man,
Patriarchal.
patriarchal. Thank
Patriarchal.
you. You said it right. And it's
Oh, I've done a
built
whole thesis on patriarchy.
patriarchal, but it's made for them. It's made for testosterone, also a hard word. It's made for men. So we wake up at
Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock in the morning, and a man is like that's slowly that's getting the peak. The peak of the testosterone comes at 12 o'clock, and they're performing really well, and then it slowly starts to decline. And at 4 o'clock they go home and drink a pint, and they because that's where it slows down. And so they
Mm.
live on this 24-hour clock, where we women live on normally 28 days kind of cycle. And so we
Mm.
never the same, and we
Mm-hmm.
can push through. And I think that is something, a hard lesson for me also, this take a break when I'm bleeding, with workout, the way I eat, and all these things. I think it's yeah, you're so right. Take a break and listen. That's another point I just want to say. It's like it's not normal to be in pain, or having, like, just because we have a womb, we don't
No,
have to suffer.
no, no.
No.
It's a message. It's a signal. It's yeah.
Yes,
It's our
signals.
body's being like, please listen to me. Please listen to me. I love
Yeah.
you.
I actually love you. I think also, I don't know who I talk with that about, but it was like we always want to, be out there, meditate, get out of our bodies, and create, prepare ourselves for our afterlives, instead of feeling into the meat suit we are in.
Mm.
And accepting and being here and feeling, oh, my breast hurts, or my womb hurts, or my, you know something about um My tongue. I think that's fascinating. I was just actually reading an article about it here in Denmark because a lot of Danish babies are going to Holland to get not oh Holland and the Netherlands to get the tongue cut because if you can't get on to the nipple or you can't suck your mama's milk, it's a big sign, and they don't want to do that here in Denmark, so they go off
Yeah.
to the Netherlands and get it
Oh
done.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh
because
wow. They don't do it.
they do it in Denmark, but they don't. I don't know. I'm not. I didn't. I'm not. Of course, I'm not so into. I don't know the whole thing about this, but they was just saying they don't cut
Mm,
as deep as needed or something. And in the Netherlands,
mm,
they do it
mm.
properly
It's
because
not a
there's some,
functional release. Yeah.
yeah, there's some regulations
Yeah.
here. And so, yeah, so it was a huge article about, yeah, a mom that was so frustrated because she just knew, she felt it in his body that there was
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
off with the whole sucking function of her baby. And yeah, now he's big and happy because it's done.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to Belgium to
Oh, you're
get
going to,
mine released. Yeah. Because
yeah.
there's no one in the UK that my so I'm working with a myofunctional therapist that assessed me and diagnosed me, and then yeah, there's just no one trained here that they trust to do a functional release.
Oh, wow.
Um, and again, this is look, this is lost women's wisdom because there's midwives used to keep a fingernail long to snip it if a baby was born with a tongue tie.
What?
This was like,
What?
yeah, like we're talking like before the medicalization of childbirth. Um, so before, say, 18th century, it was just passed down, right? It was just part of the sort of
What?
checks and sort of knowledge of a human coming into this world. Like, how many, you count their fingers, toes, you do all this, and it's like,
What?
and then yeah, it was just lost, and now it's a huge controversial topic about whether or not to, like, my nephew was diagnosed with it when he was small, but they said oh, he'll grow out of it, he'll be fine, and I can see him now, he's struggling to with his speech, and yeah, I think
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
it's just yeah, it's I mean, obviously this is a whole new journey for me. It was
Yeah.
only a few months ago that I found out about it, but it's mind blowing. So I'm going to be talking lots about it wherever I can.
I
And it
think,
and you know and it comes back to menstrual health. The deep midline fascia system runs, impacts your pelvis, like
the
your
womb.
everything there.
Yeah.
The whole digestive reproductive system that's being squished, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what's happening because I can't see it, but I can feel it. I mean, God, I can feel it last night for sure. Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here, even though you had like one of these nights. I think a lot of us can relate to a painful period night. Oh, and then you wake up the next morning, feel like somebody just been laying on top of you, squeezing you, like somebody's just pulling strings all night. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to, in a few months' time, maybe we can do a podcast on the whole tongue thing. I think that could be great.
Yeah. That would be great. Yeah.
And you also, I don't know if I'll go with that question first, but you also said something in the email that you have some a good practice for self-love, and do you remember that? You had a little tip or something like that.
Yeah, I've been weighing up whether to do this, but I think it might be nice. Well, I suppose what I said about that sort of affirmation, I love and accept myself completely. Um, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. If it's, I would recommend sort of really thinking about that and how that feels in your body. And I think it would be fun to offer a sort of little thing. This is the framework I use in my coaching practice. So
Yeah.
it's a modality called quantum energy coaching, and it sort of works with um, the neuroplasticity of the brain. So we're literally trying to sort of send these messages straight to the brain, straight to the nervous system to be like, it's okay to feel this. It's okay. This is okay. This is okay. Um, so we call it kind of an installation. We could just do it for that statement if you'd like, and just
Yeah.
see how that lands for everyone. Um, so if I accept myself, I love and accept myself completely, doesn't feels a bit too edgy.
Hmm.
If it's a bit edgy, that's fine. I think go with it. But if it feels too like, whoa, 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 no, 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 I can't possibly, try something like I give myself permission to love myself. I
Mm.
give myself permission to accept myself, something like that. So we're gonna just start with some heart breathing. So this is cardiac coherence breathing to bring the heart into a coherent rhythm. So if you just come into your seat, just feeling really supported, and obviously make sure you're somewhere safe and calm and quiet to do this. And bring one hand to your heart and just tune into your heartbeat. We're just going to take some deep breaths as if you're breathing directly in through your hand into your heart, visualizing it expand as you do. Then contract as you breathe out, counting to 6 on the in breath and 6 on the out breath. And then we're just going to come into what's called the whole brain posture. So we're going to cross the ankles and then cross your wrists and clasp your hands. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. So we're crossing the midline basically, and this connects the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So just rest your hands in your lap with your hands clasped, wrists crossed. And then we're going to close the eyes again and feel into gratitude. Is there something that you can really feel grateful for today? It can be really simple. It could be that first sip of tea or coffee, or just remembering a beautiful sunset, or playing with your pet, or just anything that just feels really, really gorgeous in your body, and just letting it fill you up from head to toe.
Mm.
And then when you're there, you can feel that gratitude, just saying to yourself out loud, I love and accept myself completely as I am.
I love myself completely as I am.
Beautiful. And then just letting that sink in. Your intuition tells you when. It doesn't take long. Then we're going to come into a little mudra. So uncrossing the ankles, feet flat on the floor, fingertips touching, counting to 10 while gazing at the fingertips, just to bring in a bit more mindfulness. Okay, well done.
It was
So that's
beautiful.
the way. Yeah, it's a really lovely thing to do, and it works. So the gratitude raises the brainwave, and then connecting the left and right hemispheres of the brain, it just all creates more neuroplasticity, so that these neural pathways can start shifting and yeah, can start rewiring to like to for love, for self-love.
To love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could feel it. It was just like, yeah, it was just a shift somewhere here in my heart when I got a little bit emotional. Yeah, no,
Oh,
no, I
yeah.
think it's that was really nice. That's a beautiful. I'm so happy that you shared this because I think also just coming down in our body and taking that moment. Thank you, Lily.
Oh,
And
I'm
I I
glad to hear.
I just want to show you something. I picked a card um before we came on here. Can you
Can't
read
see
it?
it very well.
No,
It's a
it
bit,
says
the screen's
on,
all blurry.
yeah, undenying love. The love you have shared is internal, regardless of the situation.
Wow,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So it was just, wow. Thank
Perfect.
you. I have a last question for you. I have to ask because I think it's the best question in the world, and also because it's the Uncomfortably Honest podcast. So tell me something that is true for you that almost nobody else agrees with you on.
Oh my goodness. What is true for me that nobody else agrees?
Almost.
God. Um, almost. Oh, I'm gonna need a minute to think about this.
It's yeah, it's often sometimes what we are thinking of by ourselves, but we don't really dare to say it out like loud. Um, a little dirty secret that it's like, yeah, I believe we carry that we wouldn't share because we know most people don't share the same belief. I don't know if
Hmm.
something comes to mind.
I think, I don't know. I'm gonna say people seem to think that we have progressed and life is better than it used to be. And I'm going to disagree with that because, well, I don't know. I think we've really fucked ourselves over in a lot of ways. And I'm not talking like obviously in modern history, things have got a lot better in certain ways, like the way we view women and the way we view like, and homophobia and racism and all this stuff that's like being addressed more. But like this is really those are really modern problems, right? Like um if we go back 5, 10,000 years, I think we were a lot happier and a lot more in our bodies and in
Na-
ourselves. And
Nature.
huh?
Yeah, and in nature in a way, like more
In
in
nature, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And like you say, patriarchy, right? That's a modern construct.
Mm.
Um well, modern 5, 10,000 years. And before then, I truly believe that we were in these like egalitarian hunter-gatherer bands of people, and we followed the moon cycle and we
Mm.
honored our bodies um and we and life was just this dance between the masculine and feminine, sides of ourselves and our communities, and um yeah, and it was just a lot more fun and joyful. It's like, and free, right? Free of all this shame and this like
the shit. Oh,
just disgust for being human, right? All the things that
yeah,
our body do, we're so disgusted by it, and so ashamed of it. And it's like,
yeah.
this is just what we're just animals that can think, and we've just, yeah, ruined, not ruined, but like really made things hard for ourselves.
I do think
By
so too. Yeah.
civilization, what we call civilization, is just, yeah, I don't know. But obviously I love sitting on my sofa and watching TV and eating chocolate. So I don't think I would fare very well if we suddenly found ourselves back in the woods. But I do like to fantasize about.
Yeah, me
Actually, I
too.
literally do. I'm writing a novel that's sort of part set in a time before patriarchy and before that. So
Oh man, it's then especially if you do that, you like chocolate and you're watching TV, please watch the new Netflix series on with Graham Hancock. Have you done that with the I don't know the name of it now, but he believes that we were much more advanced than 10,000, 12,000 years ago.
yes,
Yeah,
the ancient apocalypse guy. Is it
exactly.
that guy?
Have you seen
I've
it?
watched I watched one episode. I thought it was really interesting. Yeah.
It's mind blowing. We binge watched it. It's like I don't know. Yeah, and all his books and stuff like that. I think he's kind of brilliant. It's like the question is, how did we actually manage to build such big ornaments like the periods and the periods? Period?
Got
Not the
periods on the
periods.
brain.
But yeah,
The pyramids.
but all the stuff in Egypt and all that stuff, like the big, even in the UK with the this the big stones there and stuff like that. How did we how like they have found out now that it's not possible to just do it by hand. So something is there's something off. Like there's something we
Mm.
don't know and something. So yeah, watch it. I know it's just in a totally different
Amazing. And just that
direction.
that arrogance, right, that we have of like, but I don't know. I think we see ourselves as but people used to be stupid and now we're not, and it's like,
We're not like I don't think because now we're so stupid. Okay, I'm just
yeah.
giving you an example because we bought land here in Denmark and it's an old farm and in Denmark there's a lot of farmland everywhere. Like we before social media, long time ago, we cut down the forest before we could somebody could whine about it because normally Denmark used to be covered completely in the forest, and I don't know how many. I think it's like, is it 14 or 10% left or something like that? Anyways, so there's a lot of farmland
Wow.
around here,
Mm.
and there used to be a lake, a big lake here, and then we needed to grow potatoes. They put extra stuff in there, so there was no so they covered the lake. And now this whole village, every year when the rain season, I call it the rain season in Denmark. It's winter time in Denmark. It's the rain season. Everything fucking floods here because they
Mm.
ruined the natural ways of water in
Mm.
not only here in our place, but it's just because here it's just our neighbor almost like house almost went under because there used to be a lake and now there's just two small ponds, and as soon as the water is coming they overflow, and where to go it's just like water just makes its way, but it's just a silly thing like that is just showing how no, like we are the masters of nature, and let's destroy this, and let's take down the forests and make the water run the way we want it to, instead of like in tuning how does this work. And then we have too many mouse and too many rats because we don't have the space for all the birds who are eating this stuff, those what do you call it, yeah, we just have too many of them. And there's some birds like owls and stuff like that that actually eats those kind of creatures. And because we don't have the woods anymore, we don't have enough of those birds and the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I'm with you. Sorry, I just went on here because I was just because we had the water situation. And the guy who lived here before, he destroyed a stream that went to the other side and flowed out to a little lake on the other side, and they destroyed it. And so, yeah, water's rising everywhere else now instead of flowing. Sorry
Oh
for
my
that.
gosh. Yeah, no, it's really sad, isn't it? Yeah, trying
Yeah.
to master nature and we're only messing things up for ourselves, really.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And I think I'm always saying, because my dad is always saying, oh, but we cannot all live like you, and we need to progress and do more and more, and keep the ship running. And I'm like, no, we need to stop and start cleaning up and get shit, I love the technology we have today, but we need to combine it with the old
Yes.
wisdom of the
Yeah.
world, and stop. There's so much to clean. We just messed up. Like, we one big teenager that just had a party for 50 years, just left our shit everywhere. And then fucking now it's time to get our shit
Yeah.
together and grow up and align again with nature. And so also people feel better. I don't know how many people feel like stressed and burned out. Like, it's like a lot of the neighbors I have here, they burned out for jobs and managing two
Mm.
children. And it's a lot in a world that we don't need to, because we don't need more shit. Sorry.
No, we don't need more shit. We really don't.
No.
No.
Okay, so I had one
And
last. Do you have anything yet to add to that? Sorry.
no, I mean I could probably yeah, I could talk all day. So it's just no, it's but I think just to your point about like yeah, like the technology we have now is great and it's like we need to look back and forward, right? We need to
Yeah.
like
Combine.
be be take, ancient wisdom has a lot in it, and we can't just ignore it and just think we can yeah,
Yeah.
just just stomp about destroying everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so true. It's time to stop and let's have a talk and combine these things. And I think it's as the thought is also inspired by a guy here in Denmark who is saying we don't finish things, like his house, like the way he built his house. It's okay. So this sounds maybe a little bit disgusting, but his toilet, his shit goes underground, right? And it's in like a pool underground. And then on top of this, he has his not vegetables, but like herbs and spices and all this stuff, not spices, herbs, and all these stuff in a polytunnel, or what do you call it, a greenhouse. And
Mm,
so
yeah.
so so it's the fertilizer comes underneath. And I didn't know that vegetables and herbs and all this stuff didn't they don't observe if you're sick with anything. It just takes the nutrients out of your shit. And so he has like this, his whole house is built on a circle. So everything is repurposed. Even his heating is going into a greenhouse. So so the warm air that comes out of his chimney goes down under earth again, heats up and creates this greenhouse effect. And then he grows vegetable again. So he's
Wow.
using technology and stuff we have, but it's
Mm,
it's all going in a beautiful circle, which I think it's where we need to think.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Last
Wow.
question, then I leave you off. What are 3 lessons or advice you would give your younger self? We must have this one.
Mm,
It's juicy.
mm. Um, three lessons or pieces of advice. Um, I think how young are we talking?
Yeah,
um,
forever. No, how long the advice go back? What young? 30 years? 20 years old? What do you mean?
yeah. I mean, I think it would just be like, just, and I say, honestly, I need this now as well. Like, just don't worry so much. Just, you'll be okay. Just reassurance, you will be okay. Like, you are just, everything you need to be. And it's not I think maybe the lesson is more like, it's not about acquiring or learning or anything like that. It's actually stripping it all away. It's actually deconditioning. It's actually unlearning. It's actually just getting back to the center of who I am. That's kind of what it's been. And I think what self-love is for my clients as well. It's just like, um so I think, so yeah, I would say sort of just follow your joy, follow your curiosity, just go back to like that little girl inside who's just a nerd and got a lot of questions and is just interested and likes to just sing and play instruments or whatever,
Mm.
And just nurture that side and stop worrying about what everyone else thinks, because they're not they're not the authority on you. um how many things have I said now?
I
But
think
yeah,
you
it's sort
said
of like
three, didn't you? Like,
have I done three? Okay, so that's the main lesson, I think, the main
yeah, so
advice.
don't worry about what everybody else say.
Yeah,
You are okay. You will be okay.
yeah, you will be okay.
And the last one was, oh yeah, find your inner little girl and follow your curiosity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and do it. What's the word I'm looking for? Just do it above all else. Just like, just
Do
none
it.
of the rest of it matters, honestly. Um, don't worry about
Amazing.
doing it, do it alone if there's no one there to do it with you. Do it
Do
because
it.
it's fun. Do it because, just do it.
Just
Stop
do
caring.
it.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Um, yeah, following